Welcome back to the Cactus Pit Podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Drinks.
What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan, Bearded Bastard, and this is our guest today, Justin Kane, orthopedic surgeon and local entrepreneur. Justin, welcome to the podcast.
Nice to be here with y'all. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you
No
for
doubt.
coming on.
Dude, this Comos tequila, this is Extra Nejo. Oh my God. It's so good.
Oh, it's unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it's a problem. That's what it is.
Well, the only problem is that I'm having trouble finding it myself, which is
Seriously?
oh yeah, it's hard to find.
So before we had popped on, we were talking about you're and correct me if I'm wrong, a minority investor in Comos, correct?
That's correct.
So how did that come about?
Like any good investment, it kind of fell into my lap. So, in my clinic, I'm doing orthopedic surgery. I'm seeing patients, and one of my friends who does medical device sales brought a bottle to my office and says, "Hey, you have to try this." I'm like, "Oh, it's tequila, not that big of a deal." We sit down. He pours me a little, maybe like a finger of it, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is like unbelievable." It again, like we were saying, it drinks more like a whiskey than it does a tequila. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll take the bottle." He's like, "Well, do you want to invest?" And I was like, "Well, tell me more about that." And so apparently one of his relatives, I think it's his brother-in-law, used to be a master somm out in France, got kind of disenchanted with the whole wine industry, and then wanted to start a tequila company. So they went down to Mexico and started this. So I had the opportunity, and I wrote a check, and now I'm part of a small group that has a small minority stake in the company.
Nice. Yeah, because I've been asking you about the Reposado, because I can't find it anywhere. Because we went to the, so me, Courtney, my fiance, and you and your wife, and remind me your wife's name again?
Vanessa.
You graciously brought us to Graylee's, which was insane, and we'll get to that in a second. But we went to the Mexican, a restaurant here in Dallas, and we had some of the Reposado there, and I was like, dude, this shit's good. It was the bomb.
Yeah, it's again, I'm normally used to tequila being something you shoot with your friends when you're doing stupid crap on spring break, and this is certainly not even in the same realm of that. This is something you want to sit down and sip, and again, I think this pairs well with cigars. I mean, you can drink this a lot like you drink a good whiskey.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
So what would you say the main takeaway from the Jose Cuervo level of tequila versus a level of Comos would be the craftsmanship of going down to Mexico and finding the suppliers, looking at the agave, things like that, the kind of the process of it?
Yeah, I think that when you get into stuff that's a little bit more mass-produced, you're always going to lose some quality because a lot of these small artisanal tequila companies are still doing everything the way that they did it 200 years ago. They're hand pressing the agave and doing everything in some of the older, more traditional ways. Whereas some of these bigger companies, they mass produce it. It's going through machines, and you're not going to quite get that same level of quality. There has to be something lost if you're able to produce 200, 300, 400,000 bottles a year of tequila, whereas something like this, you're producing a very small batch. So this really is tailored at a much higher level and a much higher consistency. You're not going to get a bad bottle of this stuff.
Right. The emphasis is on the quality of the product.
That's exactly right.
I'm a fan. Yeah, thank you for the pour, man. It's awesome.
Heck yeah, make sure you have some more.
I will. Don't worry.
Please.
So you mentioned that this would be a good pairing with a cigar. What kind of cigar would you recommend if you were going to sit down and have them with your friends? What would you say would be a good choice on that?
Yeah, so we were talking about, interestingly, before this, the funny thing with what happened in Cuba when Castro took over is a lot of the really good cigar manufacturers jumped ship, pun intended, moved over to the Dominican because you could still make money there. It wasn't controlled by the government. So you've seen a very large shift over the last 70 years towards most of the cigars in most markets being Dominican or Nicaraguan. And even the best cigar in the world is, I think it's the Opus 1. And that is a Dominican cigar. It was the first Dominican cigar with true Dominican leaf. But getting back to what I would do with this, I would want something small, something simple, staying away from those big Churchills that are named after Winston Churchill. I'd want something that's maybe a 20 or 30-minute smoke that's going to be nice and easy.
Okay, very good. Shawn, what do you prefer to smoke when you're sitting down for a cigar? If you're gonna have let's say a tequila, what would you go for on a cigar?
I don't really know, because I'm pretty green behind the ears when it comes to cigars. I just will be like, okay, this looks kind of cool. Let me try this. So now in my mind, because I asked Chris before we had hopped on, I was like, hey, how was that cigar that you had the last time we were here? And he's like, man, I about died trying to smoke that cigar. And I was like, oh, that was a light one. Now, this may show my ignorance with cigars. If you have a lighter wrap, is that considered a lighter, quote unquote, lighter cigar?
I'm going to plead ignorance on that. I'm not exactly sure how they determine what's going to be light or a heavy cigar. I just know that certain brands are lighter than others. Like Ashtons tend to be nice light cigars. Yeah. CAOs tend to be nice light cigars.
So if I had to pick a cigar as something to pair with, we'll say tequila or whatever, Undercrown. I like Undercrowns. I typically like I'm getting into the torpedo tips, and then you gave me a cigar that was it was like a square kind of. I forget exactly where it's some local guy here in Dallas that you got it from, but that was great. That was a really good cigar. What was the name of it?
So the guy that I get the cigars from, his name is William. His family's from the Dominican, so they immigrated over here, and that's kind of their tradition. And it's over off of Harry Hines, kind of in the hood, and got a little boutique cigar, not a big spot, but all the cigars he has the old school wooden presses. So the way that they would roll them back in the day is they'd shuck the leaves, and then they'd find the most suitable leaf for the roll.
Yeah.
They'd roll the tobacco inside of it, and then they'd quarter turn it, every day or two, and they'd kind of roll it in this way.
Yeah.
And then that would kind of give it that shape. So that's from the wood press, and that's the old school way where they would crank it down, force it in, and then would sit, and then, as you know, and spin it. So that's kind of how it would be done, and it would be done by Dominicans, which is pretty cool to me, because you're getting it from a family who is from the region that it's in their lineage. So the cigars are really good. They're ranging in price anywhere from a $6 stick to a $20 $30 stick. Just depends on the day. But the cigar that I gave you was a chocolate small little 20-minute easy smoke.
No, not that one. This was months back.
Oh, this right. Okay, so you're talking about the square.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
That's probably the best smoke I've had in a while. I don't even know what the hell it was.
It was good. It was more of a mild. So you have your kind of your lower, your mild, your robustos. Your darker leaves, things like that. Those are going to be stronger. You're going to go have a steak, glass of wine, sit down, and have a nice robust cigar. I would say a lighter roll would be something in the morning, on your day off, you wake up, you have a coffee, relax, smoke a little morning stoke, a little quick one, get that mental sharpness. The beauty of cigars and tobacco is without all the carcinogens and chemicals that it's actually stimulating to your brain. It's good for you. I think Justin could probably speak to that a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
it's nicotine. I mean, nicotine is a stimulant. You're going to get a bump in your blood pressure. You're going to get a bump in your capillary constriction, which is going to focus you a little bit more. I mean, the Native Americans and, the Americas in general have been using tobacco for thousands of years as part of medicinal, benefits.
Yeah.
A lot different than what you're getting with Marlboro or, Philip Morris or any of those companies where they just want to hook you and make it as cheap as possible. And
shout out to my dad. He's a Marlboro Red guy. That's all he's ever smoked since I was
Marley
born.
Reds. Wow.
Marlboro Red and Budweiser, man. Budweiser.
He gets down.
Bud heavy.
Yeah, he's down. Because I can remember as a kid being like, "Dad, can you get something else besides Budweiser?" I'm 7, because I'm I'm gonna drink with him or something. He's like, "No, I'm gonna get this," and I was always like, looking at the packaging of the beer, and I'm like, get the Red Dog. I don't know if that's even still a brand nowadays.
You talking about Mad Dog?
No, it had a Red Dog on it, and I was like, "Can you get that one?" And
what is that?
Looking back, I'm like, my dad was probably like, "Shut up! I just want my Budweiser." Anyways, I digress.
We used to steal ciggies from my old man because we play baseball and all that, so we'd wait till he go to sleep, and then we do a little incognito mission down the stairs, roll through the back, grab the smokes, roll up, boop, pluck one out. go upstairs, make sure everybody was asleep still, go on the roof, spark up a GPC Siggy or a Merit. A Merit.
That reminds me of, like, I know this is like a funny saying. Like, I remember my first beer, but this is a story about my first beer. I was in high school, and how old did you say you were whenever you were still getting those cigars from your dad?
Oh, when I was stealing cigs?
Yeah.
I would take cigs probably around like 12, 13. We were getting into trouble.
Okay, so I think I was like 15 or 16. I was in high school. So, and my parents were asleep, and I'm going downstairs. I'm like going through the fridge. I'm like, oh, he's got some Budweiser. I'm like, I'm going to try one. But then in my mind, I'm like thinking my dad's counting his beers. He's probably not counting his beers. He's probably just getting drunk and then going to bed and waking up and be like, okay, whatever. So I tried it. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. So I poured it down the drain. I was like, what am I going to do with this? Because I thought he was going to be like, I didn't drink that. So I crushed it up and put it in my closet. And I can remember when we moved out, my mom was like, why is there a beer can in your closet? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. So that's my first beer story. So,
well, I've definitely can't remember my first beer story. I definitely can't remember that. But I do remember drinking some bad tequila back in the day. That's for sure. We were laughing about Jose Cuervo. I went to a house party where they had a little plastic pony keg, and it was just full of terrible tequila. And it wasn't cold. It was hot. It was on the side of the house type action. And let me just tell you, I don't remember what happened that night. But I do remember I'm never drinking that shitty tequila again. I think I switched to vodka. I don't think I drank tequila throughout like my high school career after that. I was just like, it got me so bad off. And I just woke up with a shirt on, no pants, on a couch at my house. Made it home safely thanks to my friend.
Have y'all ever had turlet wine? Toilet wine? Turlet wine?
It's from a movie, isn't it? I made a Merlot in this toilet.
Probably.
It's a danger zone, man. That cheap tequila, man, that's just nothing but trouble. It's you're going out to a dirt road for a fist fight at some point in the evening.
I'll tell you a story. You're going to get canceled after this, possibly.
I hope so.
It involves me being Jewish, killing Jesus also. So,
yes.
So this is a great story.
Let's hear it.
Watch out, Mel Gibson.
My whole family that lives here is my wife's family, and they're from South America. They are legit Roman Catholic. And it's South America. They don't have chimneys, so Santa Claus doesn't bring kids presents. It's El Niño Jesus, baby Jesus. So, what do? The 24th is when they celebrate, and at midnight, they open presents. So a few years back, I have the whole family over. It's like 20 of us, and my brother-in-law, who's from Italy, he's kind of party raging type guy. We'd been drinking all day at this point, and these folks all know how to party. I mean, even my mother-in-law, who's well up into her late 60s, they're up dancing till 3 or 4 in the morning on these days. It's wild. So, we're getting close to when El Niño Jesus is supposed to bring presents, so we're going to open presents, and what you do is you bring baby Jesus over on his little nativity scene to where you open presents. So about an hour before, my brother-in-law finds a bottle of 1942, which is pretty good tequila, and he's like, we should rip shots of this. And I was like, yes, we should rip shots of this. It's gonna be fun. So we rip shots. We do the entire bottle between me and him, and I am out of my mind. So we sit down, and I don't even know what made me do it, but I take little baby Jesus, and I turned to my sister-in-law and I said, "May the power of Christ compel you." It's the.
I remember you telling me this.
And I tossed it at her. I didn't throw it hard, but of course we're all hammered, and it's like late in the night. She drops this little baby Jesus on the floor, and its arm falls off.
Oh no!
Now, baby Jesus is porcelain, and he's got like red hair. He's like an Irish baby Jesus. So like, I'm like, what the hell is this? I played with him for years. Like, he'd go up into like the bedroom. He'd be like on the toilet when my wife woke up, and I didn't think anything. I'm a Jew. I don't know this stuff. So apparently, everything I did was pretty bad, according to them. But I'm so drunk at this point, and my mother-in-law starts screaming at me, and my wife and my sister-in-law are crying, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm a really good orthopedic surgeon. I can fix broken arms. So I take little baby Jesus out to my little workshop in the garage, and I'm like sanding it down with like 400 grit sandpaper, put some epoxy resin on it, put it back together. Looks as good as new. I come in, and they're still all now yelling at me, and it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to bed. What I didn't realize is that baby Jesus was 80 years old and had been in the family for that long.
Oh, damn.
And you can't find him. I'm like, how hard is it to find a baby Jesus with red hair with a little gold crown on its head? Yeah.
Impossible.
So baby Jesus does not live in our house anymore. Baby Jesus lives with my sister-in-law.
You couldn't find him on eBay?
Oh, dude, I looked for days. Days.
Damn. Well,
Apparently, Jesus is hard to find.
That one, at least.
so coming back to broken limbs, Ryan was saying that before you got here had a pretty, I thought was a really good question about like Conor McGregor. Remember when I was talking? What you were?
Oh yeah. We were talking about Justin being an orthopedic surgeon and kind of explaining to the people out there that if you don't know what that is or you haven't seen that in action, you can think of how Conor McGregor broke his lower leg. And essentially, Justin is the man who he would go to see. He is the guy, the specialist who would put that leg back together, get it all in working condition, give him a program to get back in order. So I think the viewers would love to hear about kind of that process of when somebody comes into you and they're mangled and their leg is twisted in a circle, and you have to just go, okay, step one. Can you kind of run us through that process of how you do put them back together, how you go about your process?
Sure. I mean, I could get in as detailed as you want because the stuff is fascinating to me. So when we talk about any type of fracture anywhere in the body, we talk about the personality of the fracture, because if you break your leg and I break my leg and the mechanism is different, you get in a car accident, I get into a skiing accident, the fracture pattern is going to be different. So fracture patterns have been very well described for hundreds of years. We use classifications for ankle fractures like Conor McGregor. Now his fracture is a little different, but that's based off of what's called the Logie-Hansen classification. And it's kind of cool how they did it. They kind of hammered cadaver legs into a vice grip and then twisted legs in different ways to kind of get a feel for how the legs would break. So based off of these different types of classifications, what a fracture should look like. So any good classification system, when we're talking about anything in orthopedics or anything for that matter in all of medicine, you need to be able to do two things with a classification system. You should be able to use a classification system to have a high-level sophisticated conversation with whomever you're talking to. So if I say you have, a Ryan 4 fracture of the wrist, the person who you're talking to who also knows that classification system should be able to say, okay, I can picture in my head what that looks like. So that's part one of what a classification system does for you. The second part of a classification system, it should enable you to have an idea of how you're going to go about fixing it, what the order of operations are when you go in there and fix these injuries. So we don't have tremendously helpful classifications with ankles aside from knowing the very general basic principles. Is it stable? Is it not stable? Which bones are broken? Does it involve the joint? And then from that, you can kind of then make your stepwise fashion of how you're going to fix it. When we go in and fix fractures, I think the easiest thing to do and the high-level conceptual understanding of fixing a fracture is you want to try to put the biggest fragments back together, because it's a lot like doing a puzzle. If you're starting off with a few puzzle pieces on one side and a few puzzle pieces on the other side, it's a lot more challenging than working on one side. And when I was a kid doing puzzles, you always did the border first and then work to the inside, because you knew the border pieces only had 2 or 3 pieces you can put on. It wasn't a middle piece that had 4 pieces. So we do the big pieces, put more big pieces together, and then put the little small pieces back together. And then hardware to fix them. It ranges anything from plates, screws, wires, nails. I mean, you could put a nail in a tibia. I nail tibias all the time. So it's kind of the high-level view.
And you were explaining to me that when you use the hardware inside of the leg, that some of that hardware is actually medicated?
Some of the stuff that I use is medicated, yes. I do a lot of diabetic patients who have underlying infections. So what we'll do is we'll do a lot of coating of our implants with antibiotics. And that allows the patients to have a high level of local concentration of antibiotics, which means that if there is any bacteria that's still there, we can kind of try to kill it. The other type of coating that they use, they will coat certain things with hydroxyapatite, which is basically some stuff that your bone uses to grow, so it'll incorporate everything. So when we're doing pins, some of the pins that we use are what are called HA coated, hydroxyapatite coated.
That is so interesting. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's cool.
Oh, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that we have now, it's wild.
I was talking to Justin about just the capacity to navigate through all of that, through the blood, through the veins, through the ligaments, the joint, just being inside of there, and the amount of knowledge it takes to be proficient and be able to do something like that for somebody is incredible. You know, I mean, I cut hair for a living, and I'm like, don't worry about it, guys. It's 2 weeks if you don't like it, you know. It's like you put somebody's leg on sideways, it's over. And you were talking about kind of like a ventriloquist has the cables, and you can articulate the leg and make sure that the ankle's facing the right way and things like that. You know, you don't want to you want to make sure that they make a full recovery. So it's all very intricate and incredible, you know, the whole process. Yeah. What would you say some of the harder things that you've had to do as a surgeon or overcome being a surgeon?
Well, that's a loaded question, right? Because I think what could be hard is depending on what we're talking about. Are we talking about with taking care of patients? Are we talking about with ourselves? You know, there's a lot of papers and literature out there. Surgeons face a high degree of stress, and very early in their careers, they undergo, a lot of them, imposter syndrome. I still to this day, somebody will call me doctor, and sometimes I'll laugh. I'll be like, "Ha! They called me doctor. That's crazy. They don't even know who I am. Like, it's crazy." And then the trust that they put in you, they meet you for 5-10 minutes, and they're going to let you put them to sleep and cut them with a knife. It is a very profound and sacred relationship that you have. But we know that early on, doctors are very affected by bad outcomes, and you can have a great surgery, do a great job, and still have a bad outcome. I was actually I always look at my comments, and I'm told I shouldn't look at my comments online. Somebody wrote a bad review about me like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I know exactly who it is, and I'm not allowed to even respond to it because of certain health privacy laws, but I know who it was. And I was like her 9th opinion for like 5 or 6 surgeries, and I was like, I don't know that I can fix this, but I can try. It's kind of outside the box. There's literature to support it, and it didn't work. And now she thinks, or she wrote, that I ruined her life, and you know that it hurts me because nobody ever goes in there and wants to hurt people. Nobody ever goes in with the expectation that you're going to come out and not make somebody better. But you could do your best. You could follow the rules that are set forth by the principles that we know in medicine that are hard and fast rules, do a great job, have a great surgery, and the patient doesn't do well. And it still to this day, it has such a profound effect on me. It kind of eats me up inside when somebody doesn't have a good outcome.
Well, I would imagine that somebody like yourself got into what you're doing for a career because you want to help people. And, that shows that you are truly passionate about what you do, which is great. And I think most people know when they go into something like that, there's always a risk involved. But you always want to point a finger to blame someone, right? Yeah,
for sure. So how long have you had your practice?
September will be 6 years.
Okay, so you've had this practice for 6 years, but have you been an orthopedic surgeon for that long, or has it been longer?
It's been longer. So I was a professor with Baylor for 2 years. It's a long, drawn-out story, but I was supposed to go back up to Philadelphia and work for the group where I did my residency training, and I kind of got convinced and seduced to kind of stay here, and it just wasn't what was told to me, and it was a little hard to practice under that umbrella of care that for the people that I worked with. Loved my partners, hated working with administration. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to branch off on my own so I can take care of people the way that I think that they should be taken care of. Nobody's telling me how to do something. It's like, I know how to do something. You shouldn't tell me what hardware to use. I know what hardware is going to be best suited for this patient.
Yeah, Dr. Kane's the man.
Well,
so
I'm something.
Yeah.
Would you say that administration gets in the way or impedes progress?
I struggle with this all the time. And I think the easiest, most concise way to say it is this. When you look at what physicians do, And I hope it stays this way, because for me, it is a calling. I don't know how many administrators become the CEO of a healthcare corporation because it's their calling to be the CEO of a healthcare corporation. They are there because they're peanut counters. And I'm not making light of what they do, because they need to run the hospitals. And I think that there needs to be a good symbiosis between physician and non-physician in order to take great care of people. But I don't know how many CEOs of facilities or hospitals or insurance companies you can ask, when you were growing up, did you always dream of running this? But I can guarantee you, many doctors that you ask, it was their dream. It was my dream since I was 5 years old to be a doctor to help people.
Yeah. You know, I always have to bring humor into everything. So whenever I was a kid, so I was born in New Orleans, and I can remember every day my mom or dad or both of them bringing me to school. And I can always remember seeing this yellow truck. It was just banana yellow truck. And I'm like, Mom or Dad, I want that truck when I grow up. And they're like, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a pharmacist. I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I've never, looking back, I'm like, I don't want to be a pharmacist. It's just weird. My brain's super weird, man. It's like whenever you're talking about certain things or whatever, my brain connects stuff in a weird way. So that's just what I thought about.
I think most people have something that they're innately drawn to, depending on what it is. You know, for me, it was always sport. I always, my first word as a kid was ball. It wasn't mom, wasn't dad, it was ball.
It wasn't balls.
No, not balls, plural. But yeah, I used to sit out and play basketball with the old Fisher Price. Remember the old school plastic one? And that was the move, man. It was just always, for me, it was like I wanted to be some form of an athlete, but the good Lord blessed me with this emaciated, European genealogy. So I'm over here just angry, alcohol-ridden, instead of tall and athletic.
Hey, man, whenever you put on that boss outfit, like the shirt, and you got the jeans with the black boots, hey, you're looking fucking fire, man.
Listen, my golf game might not be strong, but my golf fashion is on point. Hey, yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's part of golf, right?
That's 90% of it, dude.
I'm literally wearing a golf outfit right now. I have golf shoes on right now.
He's got golf shoes on, dude.
So
wait, those are golf Jordans?
Yeah.
Golf J's.
I saw them and I was.
We call them GJs.
They finally had my size. I've been looking for a good pair of golf shoes, and I was over at Golf Galaxy, and which I didn't even realize until I walked in. But Golf Galaxy is literally a part of Dick's Sporting Goods, and I walked in, looking through the shoes, and I'm like, they're not going to have my size in anything because I wear a size 14, and I went by the J's, and I was like, they have my size. I don't care how much those are. I'm getting those. So, and I've always wanted a pair of golf shoes because I've kind of slowly started getting into golf, and I think Ryan kind of pushed me over the edge to. I don't think I ever told you this, but I think you kind of pushed me over the edge to be like, yeah, I want to start golfing now. And then once we ended up having this guy come on a few weeks back. He used to play, and I don't really remember exactly what it was. I think he used to play in the Latin American PGA Tour or something like that. And just talking to him about certain things kind of really amplified everything. And I'm just like, I want to go golfing all the time now, but it's so expensive.
It's expensive, and it's hot right now.
I know. I went golfing last weekend. I think it was I don't know, low 100s. And my dumbass forgot to bring water out there. And I'm just trying to hydrate on tequila soda. And I'm like, I can't wait until the cart comes around with the water. And they finally get there by the 9th hole. And I'm like, please. And I literally bought all their water. They had 10 bottles. I'm like, I'm buying all of it. So, but anyways, I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah.
Saw a pretty good golf cart injury the other day. There was a guy throwing, Zach sent it over, the guy throwing rocks through people's windows. Oh, yeah. He was all drunk. And then some dude out of left field just runs him over with the golf cart and then just parks it on top of him. I'm like, he's going to need to call Justin, dude.
That's karma right there.
Yeah, this guy got rolled up, spiral fractures galore.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that was, yeah. I totally forgot about that video until he brought it up earlier. That's a good video. I love a good little funny, messed up video like that. But so before I forget, because I had mentioned it for a split second about Grayleys. Mm-hmm. So Grayleys Fine Wine, a private wine club here in town in Dallas. So I'm going to rewind a little bit. So I actually met you here at Bearded Bastard Barbershop. And we're just it was a very organic conversation, just sitting here. I think
about liquor.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about bourbon, whatever else. And I I think I was just kind of hanging out because sometimes I'll just come out here and hang out and just kind of shoot the shit with the boys and whoever else is in here. And we sparked up a conversation about just liquor, and one thing led to another. Got your contact info, and then you had invited Courtney and myself over to Graylee's, and I was like, I didn't really realize at the time that it was like a private wine club, but then you kind of expanded on it a little bit more, and Courtney was like, what kind of wine are we gonna be drinking? Blah blah blah. Because she's more of a wino than I am, and I had texted her the picture, or no, I texted her whatever it was. It was 100 acre, right?
100 acre.
So, and she was like, she sent me like an emoji face, like screaming. She was like, "Can we afford that?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." And she's like, "Well, look, like you know how much that is, right?" She's like, "It's a $700 bottle of wine." And I'm like, "Oh God!" So I texted you and I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to be rude or anything like that, but I mean, I can pay for a little bit, but I can't afford that." So, but anyways, so you bring us up there, and Courtney and I are waiting on you and Vanessa, your wife, and we're kind of just hanging out outside, and someone comes out and says, like, "Hey, are you with Justin?" I'm like, "Yeah." How the hell did you know that? So we're like, they bring us inside, super like when you walk into a place like that, you would think like it's super pretentious, just like the vibe, but it wasn't. The people, like the owner was in sweatpants, some Australian guy, I forget it's
Simon from Liverpool. He's from Liverpool.
Okay,
yeah,
and super cool dude, and his son worked there, and he had some other people that worked there as well, and everybody was super cool. And so we get in, we drink the wine, and Courtney's in heaven. I'm drinking it, and I'm like, this is really good, but I don't really understand what I'm drinking. And it was just that was a good time going in there. And you had, before we actually went in to Graylee's, you were just like, yeah, Luka and Dirk come in here all the time. And then literally that day, Luka Doncic literally like walked in, but he came in with like, he must have just got done like working out or something like that, because he was in like his workout clothes, and at
with
the time,
fanny pack.
Yeah,
with the fanny pack.
Yeah, and he like had walked in with like, I guess like some people from the Mavericks or whatever, and it was just like a low key thing, and I'm just like, that's Luka Doncic, and I'm like telling Courtney like, hey, don't look behind you. It's kind of, I don't want you to be like obvious, but he's back there.
So today, Justin, you came in with a case full of some stuff.
Yeah,
it looks like you got a couple bottles here. You want to maybe tell us a little bit about what you got sitting on the table?
Yeah, so I hunt for bourbon. It's like a kind of hobby of mine, because I remember before Anthony Bourdain started talking about Pappy Van Winkle and all these different bourbons, bourbon was not really considered highbrow liquor. It's swill. I mean, it's not really expensive to produce good bourbon. But after that, bourbon really kind of took off. It's hard to find good bottles of bourbon. I will say, it doesn't matter how much bourbon I get. Bourbon is for sharing, so nothing sits and collects dust. I buy bourbon to share. So the Yamazaki, I got a bottle of that from one of my friends who went to Japan, and I've really kind of liked it. It's very different. And, Asia has a big bourbon craze right now. A lot of the bourbon from here is actually shipped out there right now, which is why there's kind of a hard time finding some of it. So I was in London for work, and I stopped by a place that had that bottle. I was like, I'm going to bring that for the podcast.
Oh, yes.
So that's where that came from. And then I stopped by a little store on my way home the other day, and they had Booker's. And if you like high proof bourbon, Booker's is probably the OG of high proof bourbon. A lot of bourbons, it's become very in vogue to make 60, 70% alcohol content bourbons. But Booker's, at least as far as I know, and I could be wrong on this, that was the first that I had heard of it. And I can remember getting into bourbon probably maybe like 10, 11 years ago. And I tried it. I was like, ooh, this stuff will take the paint off a boat. This stuff is strong.
Yeah.
And I like it a lot more now because I'm a little more sophisticated with my ability to taste bourbon. But I think if you're learning about bourbon, that may not be a great bottle, because all you're going to taste is the fire.
Yeah. So, do you want? Which one do you want to try, or do you want to try any?
I think we should try both of them, shouldn't we? We should see the difference.
I like where my man's head's at.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying we need to guzzle the bottles.
Well,
but
no.
Shawn,
do you mind if I
knock that down?
You mind if I
pop it open?
Okay. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Booker's, and Booker's has. You ever tried anything? You ever tried Little Book before?
I have 2 bottles at the
Yeah,
house.
dude, I love Little Book, man. So, and I do the latest like expression that I have from Booker's is the Kentucky Tea Batch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's just so good. I love whiskey, man. It's a problem.
I know that they do a tour out there because my mother and my Roy live out there. And Roy's cool. He used to be a pilot for American Airlines, and he's a Corvette Club lifetime member. Nice. He's got the garage with the checkered floor and the trophies, the whole shebang. So he told me about they have a tour where you can get up early in the morning and get on horseback, and you can ride kind of on the road, like down the road, through the tobacco plantation, the old country, rural areas, and go to all the whiskey tours. And I always thought, I was like, man, that would be badass, get on a horse in the morning, got the dew in the morning coming up, sun coming up, you're riding, you're just like, do, just get you a couple whiskeys. Nobody gets a DUI on a horse that I know of.
Not the now that would be funny.
There you go.
Cheers,
you
brothers.
get it going.
Well, you can, because you get a DWI on a bike.
Is that a fact?
That's a fact.
What if you stop real quick and you just like, nope, I was stopped.
It's
I've
arbitrary.
I've seen some pretty good Lime bike fails.
Oh, dude.
Now that the Lime bikes are back in Dallas.
Yeah, I have
care of
too.
a bunch of
I
them.
love me some Lime bike fails, dude. Because there's always like one really, 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 let's just say, thin person in the front and one heavier person on the back. And I'm thinking, you're one fucking crack away from just ultimate destruction.
So I had a patient who was in California, in San Francisco, and they have the Lime bikes there. And this is a big dude. This guy was probably 6'4", maybe 260, all muscle, played collegiate sports, and was going down a hill, and the bike didn't stop, and the brakes wouldn't support him.
Oh, shit.
And he crashed and broke his ankle, and we had to fix his ankle. But we've seen a lot of that. We do see a lot of people hurting themselves on those bikes.
You know who I think is responsible for the most ankle breaks? Razor scooters.
I was gonna say hot sauce from And One.
No,
but
what are those things? The thing that you go on and it's motorized and you have to lean forward. And
One wheel.
the one wheels.
One
Yeah,
wheels.
we see a lot of those, but you see more.
I actually ate shit on a one wheel.
Yeah,
That's
you
funny.
see more wrists from that because people fall and they slam down on their hands and their wrists.
Yeah,
My
'cause
partner takes care of a ton of them.
you don't know what to do. You're like, you stop, start, lean forward, lean back, and the next thing you know, you lose control, and it's all downhill.
do y'all remember? I think it was on MTV, or it may have been on VH1. I don't remember the exact program, but there was the lead singer of Papa Roach used to host this show called Scarred. Do y'all remember that show?
I never saw that.
Have you ever heard of it? Yeah, Chris, Zach, where you at?
I blocked it from my brain.
No. Dude, that was an intense show because it was. I don't know the lead singer of Papa Roach, what his name is, but
Papa Roach.
oh yeah, duh, Daddy Roach, man.
Yeah.
His name is Papa Roach, dude.
Okay, yeah. So shows my ignorance, but
Also known as Keith Richards.
that is not who that is. So you think I'm that ignorant? No, but but now I mean it would be the most gruesome injuries, and I'm like, how are they showing this on TV? And it was like, and he would like, it was kind of like ridiculousness, but for just nasty stuff, and it was. I couldn't stop watching.
It's hard to watch. I was having barbecue last night, and I thought about a story Justin told me, and it was hard to eat the barbecue after that.
I don't know if I want to hear it.
I was having ribs,
Oh God.
and I just plucked the bone out of the meat. And Justin told me a story about one time when he had a client that had diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that he was able to just grab the bone and just pull it on out.
Oh my God.
That happened a few weeks ago.
I'm gonna throw up.
I was actually in London, and the family called me and they said, "Hey, what do we do with this?" And I took a look at it, and it was definitely like some Billy Madison. I was like, "Goo," I was like, "You need to go to the ER."
You overcooked it.
Yeah. So I get home 2 days later, and they want me to try to save the leg. I go into the operating room, take the bandage off. I'm like, "Oh, I can't save that." And I was like, put my fingers on both sides of the bone, literally just took the bone out of this guy's ankle. And I was like, this is just awful. I feel terrible.
How'd the meat turn out?
I don't know. You'll have to ask the pathologist because he is definitely now shorter after we're done with his surgery.
There's some things you can't unsee.
So Ryan, had brought up another good question earlier before you got on, and I was just thinking about it. What's the worst? I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it. If you can, it's fine. But what's the worst injury or / surgery that you've ever had to go through?
Can I answer the question I want to answer and not the question you asked?
Perfect.
The worst thing to this day that I've ever seen, I was in medical school, and we were doing community rotation. I trained in Philly. We were down in Delaware, and there is a certain level of pathology that some people have where they are steadfast opposed to going and seeking out care because they're scared. They would rather not know than know. And this lady came in to the hospital, into the ER, and I'm the medical student, and I'm supposed to go and do a history and physical. I'm on my internal medicine rotation, so we're admitting her for pneumonia. And she's got this big-ass dressing on her chest, and she takes it off, and she had the worst fungating breast cancer I'd ever seen. Her breasts were gone, and there were just maggots on her chest, and you could see the ribs.
I regret asking this.
There's the appetizer to those ribs.
The kicker to this is she was an educated lady. She was married. She lives with her husband. They have 2 young kids. And I'm like, how long has this been going on for? 12 years.
Wow.
That is the worst thing I'd ever seen because it's something that's treatable, and somebody who is clearly so terrified to seek out care because they're scared of what could potentially happen. And now we're stuck in this situation where it's just catastrophic. It is so profoundly imprinted on my brain.
Yeah.
I just wonder what it mentally with that going on.
That's
how long are you? Because I'm going to the doctor pretty quick on that.
That's rough.
I'm not waiting until it's just
holy crap.
But that is true. I'd imagine there's a lot of people who are just scared to go to the doctor. I avoid going to the doctor when I have a small illness. If I get injured, I'm gonna try to ride it out. But if it starts squeaking or cracking or not going right,
yeah,
I'm going in.
I'm starting to I'm young. I'm a young buck.
How old are you?
32. I just turned 32.
Oh, you're a baby.
Yeah,
You're a baby, man.
I turned 32 2.5 weeks ago or something. And actually went out for my birthday with Ryan and his wife. I actually was able to finally meet Marion. It was a good night. And
I caught a fly with my bare hands.
He did at
Mr.
dinner.
Miyagi type
I fucking
stuff.
did, dude.
Yeah, he did.
This fly was fucking with us, and I'd had enough.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what, dude? I'm about to try to have this dinner. Fuck off. How?
And it was amazing, though, and it was the highlight of the night.
I'd had enough, dude.
Yeah, but
happy belated birthday again.
Thank you. But so what I was saying is so I've had a injury in the past with my back, just terrible lifting with deadlifts and other technical workouts, and once I kind of understood how to actually correctly lift. Shout out to Nick Bagley. He's a bodybuilder up in North Dallas. He works out of Destination Dallas. Super smart dude. Very young, and he kind of corrected certain. I don't work out anymore as much as I should, but he corrected a lot of the stuff that I should have been doing in the past. And back in Tennessee, which is where I grew up at, I was doing a deadlift, just kind of warming up, and just collapsed. And long story short, had some bulging disc in my back, and I don't really take care of my back as much as I probably should with certain exercises or warm-ups and stuff like that, just for daily living. Probably sounds a lot worse than it really is, but it's not. But I'll kind of get up certain times and my back's super stiff, and I'm like, ooh, I should probably not do what I was getting ready to do. And I'm just I'm not even that old. That's terrible.
Just wait, it gets worse.
Comes
I
on
can't
quick.
wait.
It gets worse.
I can't wait, man.
I'll be 40 in January.
You could be my dad.
Yeah.
You had me when you were 7.
I'm older than all y'all.
Low key.
I'm gonna be 42.
Hey, you're aging well. So is Chris. We talked about this before, man. I was gonna say, guess how old he?
47?
Yeah, dude. He doesn't look like he's 47.
Man.
Yeah, I'm just what? So
I don't even know
Zach's
if I'll be alive
45.
then.
I'm a young boy. I look in the mirror every day and I'm like, I need to stop drinking, but also I'm not. So
I look in the mirror every day and go, who's this motherfucker?
The bearded bastard, man.
Why is he looking at me like that, dude?
Yeah.
I look in the mirror every
Hey,
day
bro.
and say, how long is it
Why
going
you
to be
looking at
until
me like
Ryan
that,
doesn't need
mirror?
to cut my hair anymore?
Oh shit!
Dude, we still just come hang out, just sit in the chair for 30 minutes, just bullshit.
I can get you can get your eyebrows looking sharp, man. You can.
Maybe I'll do like the lasers, like Vanilla Ice, like the little.
Hell yeah.
Hey, dude, I'm just gonna tell you right now, not happening. We're doing laser beams, dude.
You can get Alex to do some cool little thing with your eyebrow.
Zip zaps. You know, we lost young Chris today to. Well, we didn't lose him. He's upgraded his status from apprentice to barber student. So
Yeah.
he is now in school. So you will see him on the floor here shortly.
He was very excited yesterday. Whenever he told me about that, I was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, man, that's really cool." Because so how long was he an apprentice here before?
So he's been working for me for 6 months as an apprentice.
Yeah, time flies, man.
Yeah, man, he's been doing the deal, painting walls, taking trash out. You know, doing the little things. You know that it takes to be an entrepreneur.
He was out there helping clean my car yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had some sunglasses on. I was like, I didn't know Coke dealers washed cars.
Yeah.
Like he had these yellow sunglasses. He's back there. He looks like Pablo Escobar.
Yeah. I want to get a pair of like some glasses with some yellow lenses. I've been a fan of them ever since we went up to Stephen Ocho Peterson's
For the fights.
Yeah, for the Fight Fit Fighting League. Ever since Alex was wearing those, I want a pair of those. And I wore them and I'm like, hell yeah.
You got to get them in aviators, like the.
That's exactly what
big
they were.
ones.
That's what they were. Yeah.
So I got the. I don't even know who brought it up, but we were talking about Ric Flair.
Woo!
Okay.
Yeah, and I found them on eBay. They're a pair of Porsche aviator glasses, and they come with the interchangeable lenses.
Ooh.
So they have yellow, they have brown, they have blue,
Okay.
and they're gold. They're like super gaudy.
Yeah.
And I wear them, and I think my wife is kind of embarrassed to be seen out in public with me with them.
Your future's too bright with them on, man. Come on now.
I keep reminding her, I'm like, these glasses are older than you.
Oh.
These glasses are from the 80s.
They got the remnants of cocaine on them still.
That's why my face gets numb when I wear them.
Damn. Okay.
I see lights.
Well, Justin, I really, Dr. Kane, I appreciate you getting on. I'm fucking with you. I appreciate you getting on, man. You have anything else you want to ask him before we hop off?
You're a new father, man. How's fatherhood treating you?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And don't believe what everybody tells you. If you're expecting or planning on having kids, you will get a load of BS where people are like, it gets easier.
Mm-hmm.
That is false. There are certain things that get easier, like your kid's not going to die because he's not eating.
Yeah.
But as soon as they start being mobile, like they're mobile and they can fall downstairs.
Yes.
And then as soon as they start driving, they can run people over with their car. So it just gets harder every step of the way. Certain things get easier, but it's never easy. But it's also, I would say, it's been the most rewarding job. And it is a job. It's been the most rewarding job I've ever done, is trying to raise a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure Ryan can attest to that. I don't have any kids, but yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, Shawn has really been a pain in my ass over the last couple of months as my son. And I'm trying to work him into it. I'm thinking about putting him in the military academy, honestly. It's really frustrating.
Am I too tall to be in the military?
I can make you shorter.
You're too tall to fly a plane. Actually, you know what? I do want to ask you a question. What was it like the first time you had to sever someone's limb off? Was that just as a human being, what was that experience like?
It was kind of okay. I mean, you're so desensitized to what surgery is. Mm-hmm. And I kind of do it really like old school, like back like Lister type way where you kind of reflect everything off. I could tell you the nurses who were in the room, the first time they see me do it, they scream.
Yeah.
We take a leg off in 90 seconds and It's off.
Well, take his legs and give them to me. I'd like to be a little taller. If that's possible.
We talked about this. I can make you taller.
I don't know if I want to do it.
I'm a growing boy.
No, I just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being awesome.
Yeah,
It's
thanks for
always
having
a
me.
pleasure to have you
Yeah.
in the shop and
Yeah,
hanging out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate
you.
y'all.
Yeah.
Yep. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.
Hope you enjoyed today's show. Tune in for the next episode of the Cactus Pit Podcast with All My Son's moving and storage owner, Caleb Knight. Brought to you by Bearded Bastard Barbershop and Legacy Hi-Fi Studios.